Hello, I'm Mark from Moonstone Publications. Welcome to this overview of some of the stories we've covered over the past week. But first, please hit the subscribe button and share this video with your friends and colleagues. The Financial Services Tribunal has set aside the debarment of a representative who was dismissed and subsequently debarred for submitting receipts for Uber trips she did not undertake. The FSP reimbursed the rep in the amount of 861 Rand for Uber trips to and from work while her vehicle was being repaired. But it discovered a discrepancy between the quotations for the trips and the receipts. The tribunal said the chairperson of the debarment hearing had relied on the outcome of the disciplinary hearing without embarking on an independent inquiry to establish whether the rep no longer met the fit and proper requirements. Bookings are open for Moonstone Compliance's second free webinar on the Employment Equity Act, which will take place on the 6th of September. The main objective of the webinar is to provide you with an understanding of the obligations the Act imposes on a designated employer or any employer that chooses to report voluntarily on its progress towards equitable representation in its workforce. The Financial Services Tribunal has dismissed an FSP's contention that it could not act against representatives who sold fraudulent policies until it was provided with a forensic report. The FSCA withdrew the license of Imbalani Financial Services earlier this year. Old Mutual terminated its brokerage agreement with Imbalani in 2020 after engaging with the FSP for 2 years about its representatives' activities, which saw the writing of more than 860 fraudulent policies. Imbalani told the tribunal it was entitled to wait for Old Mutual to finalize its forensic report before it could act against the implicated representatives. Opposition MPs have criticised the South African Reserve Bank for its narrow investigation into the Phala Phala foreign currency matter. The investigation found that $580,000 was handed to a farm manager as a security deposit for the intended purchase of 20 buffalo. The purchase was subject to conditions precedent, and the money was stolen before these conditions could be fulfilled. Because the transaction was not perfected, neither President Ramaphosa nor Phala Phala were entitled to the foreign currency, and therefore they were not obliged to declare it. Sarb Governor Lesetja Kganyago said the investigation had been specifically confined to potential contraventions of the exchange control regulations. The introduction of foreign currency into the Republic was a customs and excise and SARS matter. The potential for an increase in the price of industrial commodities is growing, making tangible assets more appealing than financial assets, says investment analyst Rake de Klerk. Commodity prices are very sensitive to China's economic growth, as the country accounts for about half of the global demand for metals. Recent fiscal and economic policy shifts are likely to lead to a stronger recovery than is generally expected in China's industrial sector. This will positively impact US manufacturers' order books, benefiting commodity prices. The Financial Planning Institute of Southern Africa will hold its 34th Professionals Convention on the 14th and 15th of November. The theme of this year's convention is Back to the Future, highlighting the importance of looking back at where we were before the lockdown, yet moving forward to embrace innovation and growth. An impressive lineup of local and international speakers and guests will share their experiences and insights. Some of the topics that will be addressed are the psychology of financial planning, how the outlook for practice management and technology has changed, and the social media strategies needed to grow a financial planning business. The Financial Services Tribunal did not adhere to the Financial Sector Regulation Act and its own rules when it summarily dismissed a reconsideration application by a self-declared whistleblower, the High Court has found. The court also found that the Prudential Authority failed to comply with the Protected Disclosures Act because it did not advise the applicant of the appropriate forum to resolve his complaint against Investec Bank. The authority dismissed the protected disclosure 2 years ago, telling the applicant it had no reason to believe that Investec contravened the bank's act. The Financial Intelligence Centre has issued a final demand to non-compliant accountable institutions to submit a risk and compliance return. Legal practitioners, trust and company service providers, estate agents, and gambling institutions were supposed to have submitted the return by the end of May. The return requires these accountable institutions to submit information on their understanding of money laundering, terrorist financing, and proliferation financing risks, as well as an assessment of their compliance with their FPI obligations. The Centre warned that non-compliance may result in sanctions. That's all we have for this week. You can read these stories and many more on our website, moonstone.co.za. Until next time, here's wishing you all the best from the team at Moonstone Information Refinery.